Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. I'm Charlotta Martinus, and I'm very happy to be speaking to all of you today. It would be great, actually, in the chat function, the question and answer, because I see there's quite a few of you. Just let me know where you're from and what your interests are so that we can really address them throughout this webinar. I'm very keen to make it as interactive as possible. Make sure that you have all your questions answered. So if you see at the bottom of your, well, I don't know quite how it works for you, but there should be a place where you can ask questions. And so please feel free to do that. And I'll answer them as and when as we go through the webinar. So just to introduce myself, I'm Charlotta. Hi, Norwich, Norfolk, Jackie. Very nice to meet you, Jackie. Fantastic. Hi, Diana. Lovely. Great. So I imagine that some of you maybe know Heather, maybe that's how you know this. And Suffolk, UK, Glasgow, of course, because who else is awake at 8 o'clock in the morning apart from yogis in the UK, right? So fantastic. Great. Very welcome. London. Great. Stephanie, very nice to see you. Raquel, great. Lovely to meet you all. Sophia. Hey, Sophia. Jag är också svensk. It was very nice to see everybody. Hertfordshire, great, wonderful. So what I'm going to do, ja visst, eller hur? Is just introduce, Jenny, hey, flera från Sverige. is just let you know a little bit about what I do, and hopefully introduce a little bit of what I teach on our online course, which is 100 hours. So I don't quite know how I'm going to squeeze it into 40 minutes, but we'll see how I go. So I'm Charlotta, and I run something called the Teen Yoga Foundation, which I'm very proud about. It's a beautiful tribe of over 1,000 people now who work with young people in various conditions, some of them in medics, some of them are teachers, some of them are occupational therapists, and they use yoga as part of their tools working with young people, and I teach them how to do that really effectively. Because as we all know, because we've all been there, right, is it's a time of a lot of upheaval, and it's a time of a lot of change. Both anatomically, our proprioception changes, so the where we are in space changes drastically. And in our endocrine system, our hormones often become out of balance in a way they've never done before. So it's a very new experience for many young people. And how can yoga address that? Mentally, obviously, we have approximately 1 in 4 young people suffering from anxiety, some other mental health disorder in the UK today, according to government figures, which is an unacceptably high figure. And it's something that I feel very personally passionate about addressing. So I'm particularly interested in addressing the issues for vulnerable young people, but also young people in general. And then socially, obviously, a lot of people, young people have this kind of sense of being isolated, especially now in these very strange times. And they need to feel belonging in a group, in a tribe. And how do we do that in a good way that's enhancing their lives rather than making it a negative experience? And then psychologically, we look at how does yoga help young people support, how does it help young people to transition from dependency on parents to a kind of social being, to becoming a social being, right? Because this is their task, their social task is to reject parents and become a social being, become socially, how should I say, adapted, yeah? So they function in society, they've got something to say, they've got somebody to, they know who they are in relation to society, what they have to give, and also what they can take from society and what that relationship is. So I believe, and it's quite a big thing, I believe that yoga can do all of that. And I hook it on one particular quote in the Patanjali Sutras, which is chapter 216, which I brought the book here just so that I remember how to say it in Sanskrit, because it's such a beautiful thing. If you haven't come across it before, Patanjali Sutra is a very well-worn copy, is one of the main texts of yoga if you haven't already come across it. And it's very simple, well, seemingly simple until you start to dive in. And there's one particular quote here which has really been very important for me. And it's Heyam Dukkam Anagatam. And that means misery which has not yet manifested can be avoided through yoga. So the concept that we create a lot of misery and pain and suffering for ourselves in life, and those elements of misery can be avoided through the understanding of yoga. And I'm firmly under the impression that it's not merely the asana, but also obviously our perspective, our mental perspective, and that is the perspective of discrimination. So being able to discriminate between what is real and what is not real. So what can I just let go? You know, what's the small stuff and what's the big stuff? And so we try and translate all this philosophy in a way which makes sense for teenagers. Yeah, we go into a lot of depth through our course, through conversations, in how we can best do that. And I'm going to try and kind of model that for you today and show you a little bit what we do in schools, in homes, in yoga centers throughout the world. So over 1,000 graduates now are doing this across the world. We have an office in Australia. We have a few people in the States. We have an office in South Africa with Dale. And we have somebody in Wellington, New Zealand as well, who represents us, as well as in Sweden, Ida down in Blekinge, who represents us in Sweden, and various other places, Ingun in Norway. And so this is something that wherever you are in the world, you can find your teen yoga tribe and be supported by us in really changing the lives of young people to become it's not an evangelical movement. It's not like we want them to become yogis. We want them to become balanced. We want them to become physically, mentally, socially, and psychologically balanced. Because in these very trying times for some, you know, yoga can be such an important tool. And I think HealthFlix exists to promote that. And it's a wonderful initiative. Another thing I wanted to tell you about before we get started is that a few weeks ago, we started the same initiative, a similar initiative, on one of our YouTube channels called Yoga in Schools. So if you want more of this and you want it on a daily basis, one of our teachers every single day at 10 a.m. UK time is offering similar amount of time, 45 minutes of a class, yoga class, well-being tip, and a challenge on that channel. So you need to Google, you go onto YouTube and then put in the search bar Zen Challenge, hashtag Zen Challenge Yoga in Schools, and it should come up because there are lots of channels called Yoga in Schools. So you need to find it through that. And 10 a.m. every morning for free, one of this tribe, my graduates, will be offering a really beautiful class, and they're called Zen Challenge, which is why this is called the Zen Challenge. And the concept is that I challenge you to find your Zen. And we're going to do that through various practices, which you can then take home and practice, and come back to me and tell me how it feels, and tell me what worked and what didn't work for you. I'm just going to take a moment and see what's in the chat in case you guys have any questions. Olga from Denmark. Martina Rudbeck. Jag känner någon som heter Rudbeck. Johan Rudbeck. Bedfordshire, you've been for a walk already. How lovely. Samantha Rose, you're in Essex. What a lovely morning it's been to go for a walk. Great. And then there's someone in the Q&A. Gunilla. Very nice. So I think maybe we're meant to be using the Q&A, but I've never used that before. So yeah, probably best. Rebecca. Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Lovely to see you. Yeah, beautiful morning. Aren't we blessed in these strange times to have such beautiful weather? At least it helps us. And, you know, maybe we can use this as an opportunity, this time that we're kind of forced to be by ourselves in our families, to deepen our connections with our families and deepen our connection with ourselves, and to just calm down. I was saying in a satsang the other day how I feel like this is like a call to action for us, really, to just calm down and be peaceful with ourselves and slow down. Feels like nature's just demanding that of us right now. And if we're lucky enough to live in a space where we feel comfortable and safe, then that is something we can do, not only for ourselves, but also for them, for others we can support who are feeling more vulnerable. So this is going to be a little bit of asana, a little bit of breathing, a well-being tip, and a challenge, just as we do over on our YouTube channel every morning. So I hope you'll enjoy it. And there'll be plenty of times for you to ask me questions at the end as well. So do hang on in there. So like I say, it's pretty tricky to show you what we do in 100 hours just in half an hour, but I'll give it a go. One of the principles that you got to remember when you're working with young people is, although yoga has become much more popular, with, you know, so many famous people engaging in yoga, it's still weird. Like basically everything you do as an adult is weird. And how do we unweird yoga? How do we make yoga something which is perfectly normal and something that they can take away as a daily practice for themselves? And that's always in the back of our heads. So we create a kind of best practice for them. And one of the things we do, which might sound counterintuitive, especially for very sporty kids, is we start on the chair. So you have many situations in your families today where you're sitting on chairs, right? You're sitting gaming or eating your supper or doing their homework, and they're sitting on a chair. So start where they are. This is one of our main principles in Teen Yoga. Start where they are. So I've got a chair here. I'm going to grab it. And I'm going to show you what we can do on the chair. So many of you already experienced chair yoga as such, mostly for old people. So it kind of feels odd to maybe to do it for young people. But here we go. So you've got young people sitting around the table just about to eat supper maybe, or maybe they're doing their homework. And you simply say to them, right, your shoulders are probably quite tight. So just bring them up to your ears and let them drop. Bring them up to your ears and let them drop. Bring them up to your ears and let them drop. Now bring your left ear to your left shoulder, stretch through the right, grab hold. So we're just getting a bit of a stretch there. So it's counterintuitive in a sense, because you think, oh, young people are so strong and fit and healthy. Well, some of them are. So why would we do something in the chair? It's just because it feels good, and you don't have to kind of do anything that's strange or weird. So it's a great way to start people off. I'm getting a stretch here, this side. And it's normalizing it, making it super accessible. And that's really important, because the weirder it gets, the less accessible it is, and the fewer people will join in. You can go weird later, but get simple easy in the beginning. And then we turn the head to the left, and we turn the head to the right. You just go all the way you can. Fantastic. And then we do the same thing with the spine. You're going to bring your arm behind you over the back of the chair, and you're going to squeeze your leg and look behind you, so you'll twist your whole spine, and that feels so good. Especially for us, been doing some exercise recently because we've got that free time. We really need to free up the back. The back is one of the first places that gets super tight. And also if we're sitting around, so either people are sitting around a lot or they're exercising a lot right now. So we need to free up the back and bring those shoulder blades together behind you. Now bring your hands on your knees. I hope you're joining in, guys, not just watching. Might as well. It's early morning. You haven't had your breakfast yet. So get yourself a chair and join in. Tuck your chin in. And you'll feel the difference. It's extraordinary. And look up. And we make it very simple. We think so many teenagers look like they're adults already. They look like they're responsible and kind of taking a lot of heavy responsibilities, going out by themselves, getting jobs, but but emotionally, many of them are quite still quite undeveloped. And so it's really good to remember that and still treat them with a lot of compassion and a lot of support. So even in the language we use, make it really simple. So breathing out, looking at your tummy, and breathing in, shoulders back, look up. But not underestimating the curiosity. Breathing out, especially for something that's a little bit esoteric and different. Breathing in. The problem you have is because you love yoga, they'll probably reject it. So you need to make it just for them, something that they will benefit from, not your yoga, but their yoga. And even on the chair, we can also do things like we can use the back of the chair, because many young people find balancing very difficult, especially between the ages of 13 and 15 when they grow so much. So usually they grow between 12 and 13 centimeters in a year. So their proprioception is all over the shop, which means that balancing on one leg is really hard. So it's good to use a chair to begin with. We just do a tree here. So standing on one leg, bring your leg up and just hold on to the chair to start with. And you can ask them to do this, and you can do it like a challenge, right? So who can take both hands off? Who can close their eyes? Yeah. And the more you kind of play with it like that, the more fun it becomes. Can you take your hands off the chair? Can you close your eyes? Yeah. And then there's lots more we could do here. We could do a seated fire log pose. So just bringing one leg over onto your knee and then lean forward over that. And we get a nice stretch in our right gluteus maximus. So puff your tummy out, stretch. And when we sit a lot, we get real pain in our, become pains in the bum. We get pains in the bum, we become pains in the bum. So stretching forwards. Oh, there, you kind of have to play with it a little bit to get that right feeling. Okay. And then do the other side. And you might notice that I'm actually doing it quite quickly. And that's also because if you hold it for too long, they get bored. I mean, all this is generalizing, obviously, and you do get kids who really get into the yoga. Hopefully that's what we want, is you want them to get into it so they're asking for more. But initially, you're just doing little stretches like this that we can do at the kitchen table, at the desk, not really in the sofa, because you need to be sat more upright than the sofa. Okay. And then you can use the chair in more creative ways. So we can bring, if you've got trousers on, you can bring one foot over, actually it's the other way around, one foot over like this. And then you could do the warrior. And what's really nice about this is you get a fantastic stretch in the back leg. You're not really putting any weight, you're not using the power of your legs, but you're getting a really great stretch in the inside leg, which for me right now feels fantastic. And then obviously do the other side as well. And I've been asked to do things that aren't very demanding on this in this lesson, which is for safety reasons. But there is one that is actually the Iyengar one, which you could try at home, which I'm not going to demonstrate right now, which is just kind of lying over the back of the chair. So you would kind of do I am going to demonstrate it actually. So you sit with the edge of your bum on the edge of the seat, and then you just kind of lie back, and it feels really good for the front of your body, and you can reach back, and that's a really great introduction to the wheel. So we get a nice stretch of the front of the body there like that. So there's just some ideas that you can do with a chair to just get them into the yoga, you know. So let's see. Probably some of you have asked some questions. What's in the chat here? My Wi-Fi connection is bad. Oh, okay. Don't worry. So you can probably watch it on pre-record. I can see you, Alice. That's great. Okay, so there's nothing important there, right? So what I wanted to do now is to demonstrate what we can do like on the ground, like regular yoga, right? And before we get to the breathing practice and the challenge. So the thing about teaching teenagers yoga is they have a completely different tolerance level for like feeling exposed. So many young people feel very exposed and feel very judged all the time. So we've got to think about that when we teach them. And one way that really translates a lot is how much backward bends we do, and also the relaxation. So let me demonstrate. So let's go back. If guys, I hope you've got a mat so you can do this with me, because I would like you to feel what it feels like, really get into the feeling of being a young person today. And then, we know how much pressure socially there is through social media to be a certain way and to act in a certain way. It's very difficult to feel free in ourselves when we're a young person, and maybe it's always been that way to some degree. So we want a lot of protection, we want a lot of grounding, we want a lot of reassurance. So in the beginning, I always start the lessons with a child's pose. So I bring in the knees apart if that feels comfortable. For some people that doesn't feel so great. And then I bring the chest down and the head down. So we always start like this. And it's very nice. And you can tell them, when you were little, you used to do this when you were upset. And you used to do it intuitively because it feels good. You feel protected, right? So let's do it. Put your head on the floor, shoulders down, hands back. And just imagine all the worries in your head pouring out into the floor. Roll the head from side to side. And just all the worries and the concerns, what everybody thinks about you, what you think about yourself, all that outward looking perspective, just going back into the floor, and just feel into yourself, just without judgment, feeling into yourself. Notice the physical sensations of the body, coming out of the mind into the body. Coming out of the mind, dropping the mind into the body. Going out of your mind into the body. So feeling into your body, lower back, shoulders, relaxing, stretching the back of the legs, back of the lower back. And now we're going to introduce some breathing. So if it's too heavy on your head, you can make a pillow with your hands and just breathe deeply into your back. And breathe out slowly. Breathe in deeply into your back. And breathe out slowly. And notice how your back moves when you breathe. Okay, so from here, it's not so big a deal to come up onto all fours because it's kind of like the same thing. So come up onto all fours and again move the spine like we did in the chair. So looking up, looking back. Looking up, breathing in. Looking back, breathing out. Looking up, breathing in. And we introduce the breath like this and looking out, looking back, breathing out. And back into child's pose. So we stretch through the lower back. Lovely way to start the day. Walk the fingers to the left. And walk the fingers to the right. So you're getting a side stretch in there as well. So you do as much as you possibly can in this position, really, to make them feel safe and comfortable. And then we bring the right leg forwards. So it's very grounding. We're staying low to the ground to start with, so that they feel comfortable and secure. This is our main concern with young people, that they don't feel vulnerable, that they feel okay in themselves. So we're doing a pigeon pose here, which is just a gentle, free pigeon pose, nothing too technical. And again, you'll notice that is something that I've developed as well, is that we don't really go too much into alignment at this stage. We just do what feels good. We go back to the essence of what yoga really is, which is like what feels good in our bodies. It doesn't have to be structurally correct. at this stage. We can come to that later if we feel like it. So just releasing that buttock there, come forwards. Hands either side of the knee, look up. Release the buttock down. Oh, that feels so good in the morning, doesn't it? And then we're going to come into downward dog, downward facing dog, or inverted V. And you'll get a lot of laughs about this because basically you're sticking your bottom in the air, which is fine. Curl the back a little bit, stretch through the back of the legs. And let's do the same on the other side. So left leg into a pigeon. First coming down onto the ground, feeling your connection with Mother Nature, feeling the pulsation of the ground beneath you. Noticing your breath here and releasing your buttock. Hands either side of the knee, lifting up, looking up. So really stretching through that buttock. And then curl toes under, come into downward dog again, stretch through the back. So that's a relief, you see, because you've been all squashed on the floor, you want to release. So that's an invitation to release your back and lower and legs. Okay. And then ideally, I do think that the sun salutation is a really useful exercise to teach people, to teach young people, because it does work with all the body. Helps them with the proprioception, strengthens and releases tension in the whole body. And it's really essential that we do some kind of warming up. But also it's something they can play with and change and use as a basis for almost like a kind of choreography. So in a classroom scenario, I would encourage young people maybe to create a song list or like a music list, a Spotify list that they can use with the sun salutation, and I get them involved as much as possible with that, because obviously any music I introduce, they might be interested in it, but it's much more fun if they're engaged in that. So we would teach them the sun salutation from this perspective. So we start it all forwards. We come into downward dog, and just a little pedal here, very slowly. We're going to release tension in the body. And bring the right leg forwards between the hands. So we're going to just stay here for a minute with the knee up. I hope you can see me clearly enough. And look up, push out through the back heel. Just feel that. So, you know, in a classroom scenario, I might ask them, can you tell me what muscle groups you can feel? So you're really getting into the body here. And the more we get into the body, the more we're out of our minds, which is a really good thing. Bring that knee down. Feel into which part of the body can you feel the stretch in now? And look up. And then bring that foot forwards. And you'll be surprised how stiff a lot of young people are. From primary school age up till about 11, they're relatively bendy. And then when their growth spurt starts, they get very, very stiff. So this forward bend is particularly difficult for them. Tuck the head right in. And then breathe in, coming up, 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 up. And come back down. Now, this is an interesting thing, which has been verified by many teenagers. So I worked out that I've taught probably about 100,000 teenagers over the last 17 years. And what they really love is creating an affirmation. So we can do that here. Bring your palms to the center of your body. And have an affirmation for you for today. Starting your day with an affirmation. Something about you and something about the world, maybe. So just whatever. And we don't do this from an intellectual perspective. We do this really feeling into ourselves. So I'm going to invite you now to just drop into your heart and ask yourself, just take a few minutes, just dropping into the heart, into the center of your body. Feeling into that space behind the thumbs. Notice the pulsation. Calm yourself. Feel the rooting through the feet. Take a deep breath in. And a long breath out. Bow your head to your heart and ask your heart gently, what is your deepest desire? And immediately a word comes up for me. I might not do it for you. It might be more like a feeling. And that's the word that we're going to use in our affirmation. So for me today, it was peace. It's always peace. So if you didn't get one, you can use mine, which is peace. So bring your palms to the center. But feel that word, peace, in your heart. Breathe in the cup. Open your heart to peace. Flooding into the heart and out of the heart. Exhale, protect the peace in your heart as you bring your head down, protecting the peace. Bring the right leg back. Get ready to receive peace as you look up. Being strong in your peacefulness. The peacefulness brings you strength and courage. Exhale down. Open your heart to peace. Curl the toes under. And head comes below the heart. The heart is more important in this position. Peace from your heart brings you peace of mind. Bring the right leg forwards. Preparing the body to open the heart. Protecting the heart and opening the heart to peace as we breathe in and look up. We can do that on the other side. Bring palms together and remind ourselves of one of our words. So you might have a different word, you might have something different. Breathing in, opening the heart to your word, protecting the word, preparing, feeling power in the word, feeling all the power and courage in the word. Coming down, surrendering the word to the ground, to Mother Earth, opening the heart. Head is below the heart is more important than the head. Left leg forward, preparing, protecting, and opening. And exhaling. So we'll come down to relaxation. Usually, I'd use many more, maybe 6 of those sun salutations with variations, but just because of time today, I'm just demonstrating a little bit, a snippet of a class rather than an entire class. And what might be surprising for those of you who haven't done my course is that I suggest that young people rest on their stomachs. So we go into Makrasana rather than Shavasana. So bringing your hands to pillow, the crocodile posture. Toes are together, head is on the floor. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Continue like this. And if you want to, you can repeat your heart's desire in this position. Feel your heart rate slow down and feel your breath against the floor. And allow the whole body to sink into the floor. The whole body is relaxing into the floor. And we're going to use the breath to slow ourselves down to feel more grounded. So take a deep breath in. And a long, slow breath out. And by now your heart rate should have come back to normal. We can press back into child's pose again. So pressing back into child's pose. Fingertips in front of us. Lengthening the lower back. Wiggle your bottom so you get your chest down in between your knees if that's comfortable. And from here, we're going to introduce a little backward bend. We don't do many backward bends because, especially if you've got a lot of teenagers in a group, because they can feel really vulnerable and you just don't know what's going on between them in terms of relationships. So shuffle to the front of your mat and we're just going to do a little backward bend here. So bring your heels either side of your hips. Bring your hands down behind you and just gently lean back. And that's probably about it, especially at this stage of the morning and at this stage of their asana practice. This will be enough of a backward bend for many young people. But for you and I, maybe we'd like to go a little bit deeper right now, so we can go onto our elbows if you like and get that front stretch. Just feel into that backward bend. And again, be aware that this can make people feel very vulnerable, so they might want a blanket over them. But again, it's a nice opportunity to tune into their affirmation. Peace, peace, and peace. And immediately we go back into our child's pose. Get back into our child's pose. For protection and support. And then we're going to do a little twist. So we'll just do a simple twist. A twist is good. And the thing is, when we teach yoga to young people, we give them reasons why they're doing stuff. The more reasons you can give them, the more they'll get into it. That's the kind of introductory phase. And then once they're into it, they'll do it because it feels good, but they need a reason to begin with often. So we're just going to sit on one side of the feet like that. And we're just going to gently twist, carry on that twist around in the same direction as you're already going. So very, very simple. Just keep that twist going, looking behind us, opening through the chest. And again, keeping the knees together to begin with, because opening the legs can feel a little bit vulnerable. We can't avoid the fact that for many young people, this is a time of sexuality and kind of, finding out about their sexuality and finding out that they have sexual urges and so on. So this area of the body around the sacrum in this area is very, very vulnerable and very kind of unbalanced in many ways. So we need to be aware of that and keep that protected as much as we can. Looking around behind us. Good. And then we should probably think about doing some kind of side bends. Again, we can do that low to the ground. In the first classes, I would always do very low down, low to the ground. So we're going to do this side bend low to the ground. We'll do the gait posture. And I always use the terminology in their own language rather than Sanskrit to start with. What I love about the gait is you can do it both ways. So if we do it this way, we get a nice inside leg stretch. So let's do it this way first. And then we'll do the other way. So bring the hand to the floor and stretching through the side. And then let's swap sides. Gait posture. And the side bends are great because they stimulate the function of the liver and the kidneys, which flush out all the toxins in the body. But also, they stimulate the lymph glands in the armpit here. And that's great to boost immune system. So that's something you could tell them. And then the classic balance. I wonder if you guys can guess what the most popular balance among young people could be. What do you think? I wish you could speak. It's the crow. Did someone say that? Crab. Crab. I don't know what you mean by crab. You're going to have to show me a picture later on. No, crab. What could crab be? Okay. I don't know what the crab means, but it's the crow. It's the crow. Because for two reasons. Because it feels like you're flying when you can do it. Lots of reasons, actually. Because boys, bet you didn't know this, this is the time between the 13 and 14 when their pectoral muscles are growing and becoming really strong. So suddenly they have all this power in their upper body. And they're often much better at me than it and can hold it for much longer than me. So that's always fun for them. And it's just fun and it's low to the ground. But the thing about the crow is, it's a great opportunity for you to get them to open up their groin, which is quite stiff at this time. This is the chakra that they're really working with, is their groin, obviously, like we said, the sacral chakra. And so we need to open up the hips to do that. And in order to open up the hips, you need to keep it low to the ground and forward bend so that they don't feel too vulnerable. So again, opening the hips in this way, just, you know, if you ask them to simply sit crouching, for many that would be impossible, especially football players or anybody who does any running or athletics. You'll find their hips are very, very tight. So you need to kind of play with the hip opening posture and then play with the crab. And then for me, I'm not very good at it, but I can just, you know, ask them to give it a go. And that could be their challenge, you know, can you learn this for next week? And many times I've had kids come back having actually learnt the peacock. It's a much more advanced posture, but this is a great way to get them engaged and have like a kind of challenge. Might be your challenge in your house, who can learn the crow. And then we might just do one standing posture to feel strong, and that would be the warrior two, because that's the end, so we can come up just for the end. And I would do, you might notice that I've got my socks on. That's not a mistake. It's because young people hate taking their socks off in schools. Maybe they take them off at home, but there's something about not being grounded. If you're not grounded, you don't want to take your socks off. The more grounded you become, the more connected you become with your feet, and the happier you are with taking your socks off. So that's why I'm demonstrating with my socks on, quite apart from the fact that it's quite a cold morning. So we bend front knee, stretch the back knee, back leg, bring the arms up, look up over the front arm. Stretch through. The back represents the past, the front represents the future, and we remain in the present, because in the present moment, that's where joy is, and that's where we are. We're not in the future and we're not in the past, but we're looking towards the future with hope and with an open heart, connecting with our intention. And then we're going to do it on the other side as well. So opening the heart, looking towards the future. The past is behind us, but we're very aware of it, so that it's not dropping down. It's very just the same. We're very much in the present, not leaning into the future with anxiety and fear, and we're not remaining in the past with a regret. But standing in the present time where joy and wisdom is, and the moment of transformation. Right? It's just now that we can transform things. We can't transform things in the past. We can't transform things in the future. But if we transform something we do or say right now, it could change the trajectory of the way we are. For example, this time that we have of isolation, what a wonderful opportunity to develop a habit. My son has got me playing the piano again. And it's like, you know, this has given me a pause to think, what do I really want? What habit do I want to develop? Who knows how long we're going to be in this situation? But if I give myself something to practice every day, then I'll be better at something after this. So to give ourselves a challenge like that, okay? And while we're here, we might as well do a nice wide angle forward bend. Again, that'll work with the sacral chakra, but also with the back of the legs and lower back. So just letting that head drop down. Take some breaths here. And then we'll come down to kneeling. I'll come a bit closer to the camera so I can you can see me better for our breathing technique. And we're going to do two very silly breathing techniques. And you kind of almost have to frame it like that, because if you don't frame it like that, they won't even do it. But if you do frame it like that, then it could just be hilarious fun. And actually all of my yoga classes are really funny. There's a lot of laughter going on because it's so ridiculous. And this is probably one of the most ridiculous things you can do. And of course, it's lion breath, something that they find hilarious when they're little, and even more hilarious when they're older. So tense absolutely everything. Your face, your mouth, your hands, your bum, tight body. Breathe in, and when you breathe out, let everything go, including your mouth and your tongue. Do that again. Tight, 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 tight. And the last time I'm going to do it, I want you to feel like all your aggression, all your frustration, all your anxieties are just spilling out of you, and there's nothing left in your body. Okay, so we're going to bring it all up with the tension. Tense, 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 tense. Bring up all the tension. Bring it up into your chest, into your throat, into your mouth, and spill it all out. Let it all go. And that makes you feel courageous, doesn't it? And very, very silly. And the other breathing technique we can do, which is also very silly, is the humming technique. So the bee breath. And what's good about the bee breath is it's very, very calming for the mind. So we're just going to close our eyes and put our fingers in our ears and just make different kinds of pitches. You're going to take, let's say, 10 breaths. Breathe in once, breathe out once, breathe in one for 10 times. And try different pitches and see how the different sounds feel in your brain. Okay? Take a deep breath in and off you go 10 times. And invariably, you're the one who's doing it last because you've got the longest breath, which is hilarious in itself. Okay, so when it comes to relaxation, I don't often do relaxation right at the very beginning of doing yoga because that's kind of the weirdest thing of all. But I will offer you just a short relaxation today to show you what you can do right at the beginning if they haven't done it before, because I think for many people, relaxation is probably one of the most vulnerable things of all. So come back onto your mats. And I'm inviting you to, I want you to feel what it's like to be a young person. So you can either come into your child's pose with your legs apart, or you can lie on your tummy. I'm going to choose child's pose, and I'm going to make a pillow with my hands. And I want you to just feel into the ground beneath you. So notice the ground beneath you, the solidness of the mat, the floor, and the ground beneath the floor, the earth beneath the floor. And breathe all the strength and power in from that solidness. And breathe out any residual tension into the earth, like rain into the earth. Do this 3 or 4 times. Just notice all the tension releasing. And very gently, bring your hands to the side of the mat, move the shoulders, and gently coming up. Come into a seated position, whatever's comfortable for you, and then cross your legs differently. And we're going to finish with your own word that you chose in the sun salutation. So just put that into your hand onto your heart and feel into your own word. And if you didn't have a word, you can have mine, which is peace. And just say it 3 times with full feeling to yourself. as if you're giving that to yourself, as if you're eating it for breakfast. Imagine it filling you up completely, flowing all around you like the air. And anything that's not that is leaving the body. And then we're going to finish with just a humming sound. So this is what I would do with young people. So you just breathe in. Do that 2 more times. Whole body relaxed, face relaxed. Feeling the connection, the virtual connection with each other as we all do this practice together, through time and space, into deep time, into that timeless space where we're all connected as one, everybody the same energy with the planet, with each other, across borders, across time zones, across space. This is what yoga teaches us, experiences. We get that experience from yoga itself. We're coming together in that experience of timeless peace, timeless connection. And you can open your eyes. I would love for you now, and this is something I do with young people, but more like practically, is just to write in the chat something you feel now. What do you feel in your body now? Different from before. Peace. Yeah. I was a bit biased with my name. Peaceful. Yeah. Närvaro. Närvaro. Presence. That's beautiful. Ease, release, lättnad, öppenhet. Grounded, safe. Letting go of anxiousness. And this is how your young people will feel. That's great, Diana. And this is how your young people will feel. So you can change their mood. Actually, you're not changing their mood. They're changing their mood. Grounded and yourself. That's so cool, Teresa. So again, handing back to them that, you know, you're doing this. You, the teenager, you're the young person, you're doing this to your own body. You're changing the way you feel by the movements and by your own affirmations, you know. And I'm just showing you the way through yoga. And this is how yoga can give you the experience of discriminating between what is real and what is unreal. Simply because in the beginning when you came, your head was full of stuff that felt really real, but actually it's not, because now it's gone, which means it was never real in the first place. And what you've come to when you've calmed down is the real self, which is lack of anxiety, which is a freedom and a peacefulness. And that is you. That is all of us, that connection that we all have. And then when we have that visceral experience again and again and again, we can only be well and accepting and free from misery and free from pain and suffering. So that's what I hope for our young people going forward. That's my vision, is we bring that to more and more and more young people. So my well-being tip, I suppose, would be that breathing that we just did. I think that was beautiful, both the line and the humming together. And the challenge is to teach your young people the crow and take photos if they'll let you. If they don't let you, then just let me know if it worked or not. And that'll bring some joy into your household, hopefully. And yeah, let me know. I'm going to open up the floor now for some questions. So yeah, please, I'm here for the next 5 minutes. I know there's a Q&A button here, and there's also a chat. So either way is fine. So please feel free to ask me any questions, really. Thank you, Stephanie. So nice to see so many people here. Thank you, Lena Blum. Yeah. We've created an app actually for young people called the Yuva Yoga App. And it's not completely ready because we ran out of money, but basically it's still usable and it's something that you can use. Oh, thank you, Vivienne. Yeah, so you might want to have a look at that, Yuva Yoga. We're going to be hopefully trying to raise some money in the next few months to get it up and running and completely ready. Kalas, bra, vad kul! Kul, Jenny! Oh, Sarah, absolutely. So Sarah's asking, do you find teenagers open up about their issues after the classes? They really, really do. And the classes become more and more therapeutic as we go along. And actually, I had a group of boys, 11 and 12-year-old boys, for years, actually from they were 11 till they were about 15. And it would always start with a check-in, like, how are you doing today? And sometimes that check-in would last for the full 45 minutes. And we were just like, well, we've got to do some yoga now. But they said to me, there's nowhere else in school where they get asked properly how they're doing right now. And they just felt such a relief to be able to just speak their truth and be heard, and I didn't need to be a therapist. I just needed to ask the question. And they felt it was such a relief to just talk about stuff together and notice that they were feeling the same things and just have somebody to be compassionate. Tack, Martina. Okay, I have got to go, guys, but I'll be back apparently in a week's time. So yeah, loads of time to ask me more questions then. If you want to ask me any question by email, feel free to do that. info@teenyoga.com. Okay, guys, have a lovely day. Om Namaste, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.